Gravel bike brands have perfected the language of premium, system integration, race-proven materials, and adventure-optimized engineering to sell upgrades that independent lab data says deliver almost nothing measurable. We are counting down 15 popular gravel upgrades, ranked strictly by cost per real watt, from minor financial missteps to purchases so absurd they exceed $20,000 for a single watt saved. But this countdown starts with an upgrade that actually delivers, number 15. In the 15th place, premium folding tubeless tires set the gold standard for real-world gravel upgrades. Independent drum tests from Bicycle Rolling Resistance peg the Panoraxer Gravel King Slick at 18.4 watts of rolling resistance, a clear 7-watt improvement over a typical wire bead tire that clocks in at 25 watts. That gap isn't just a lab artifact. Field-adjusted figures show a fatigue adjustment factor of 0.9, meaning nearly all the lab savings survive the rigors of actual gravel riding. For a $90 set, the real watt return works out to $14 per watt, making this the most cost-effective upgrade in the entire lineup. Unlike pricier upgrades that chase marginal grams or marketing gloss, a simple tire swap delivers a tangible 6.3 watt advantage where it counts, on the dirt, not just the spec sheet. This isn't luxury for luxury's sake, just the best ROI you'll find in gravel. Subscribe for more data-driven cycling myth-busting. In the 14th place, gravel-specific Aero wheelsets promise wind tunnel magic but deliver a masterclass in diminishing returns. Swiss Sides Lab claims up to 5 watts saved over standard clinchers, impressive until the field adjustment factor steps in. Real-world gravel, with its dust and micro-vibrations, erodes that figure to 3.5 watts, thanks to a fatigue adjustment factor of 0.7. Now consider the price tag. $1,800 for a set of carbon Aero wheels, translating to a cost per real watt of roughly $650. That is a red zone investment for a gain you will only notice with a stopwatch and a tailwind. While these wheels do help on endless flats and headwinds, the extra 200 grams in steep price make them a questionable upgrade for most gravel riders. When a tire swap nets far more watt savings for a fraction of the price, chasing Aero wheels starts to look less like performance and more like a high-speed placebo. In the 13th place, mid-tier hydraulic drivetrains like Shimano GRX 610 or SRAM Apex AXS deliver reliable shifting and solid braking without the flagship price tag. At around $600 to $900 for a complete group, these systems provide the kind of durability and field serviceability that gravel riders actually need. The real kicker? Lab tests and mechanic testimonials agree. Swapping from mechanical to mid-tier hydraulic changes your power transfer by less than half a watt. That is a rounding error on most power meters, not a game changer. What you are really paying for is crisp shifting, dependable modulation, and fewer headaches on a muddy trail, not headline-grabbing watt savings. While premium Groupsets love to talk about grams and integration, the mid-tier hydraulic group quietly gets the job done for a fraction of the cost. Spend here if you want function, but do not expect a speed boost just because the marketing says so. In the 12th place, carbon handlebars are often marketed as a ticket to both speed and comfort, but the numbers tell a different story. Swapping from a standard aluminum bar to a carbon model typically trims just 40 to 80 grams from the front end, barely a rounding error in the total bike weight. At $150 to $300 per bar, that's a steep price for a cut you will never feel on the power meter. Real-world watt savings are essentially zero, according to both manufacturer specifications and independent comfort studies. What carbon does deliver is a subtle reduction in high-frequency vibration, which can ease fatigue on long, rough rides. For some, that comfort is worth the premium. But if you are chasing raw speed, the carbon bar is a classic example of a comfort-first buy disguised as a performance upgrade. The real gains start and end with ride feel, not with any measurable increase in pace. In the 11th place, integrated frame storage systems promise sleek convenience but come with a hidden cost, an extra 200 grams of weight and a price tag that ranges from $80 to $250. Bike packers often praise the centralized mass for keeping bottles and tools stable on rough terrain, but that benefit comes at the expense of both weight and future headaches. Real-world testimonials highlight recurring issues with moisture seeping into the frame cavity, sometimes leading to seal failures and expensive repairs. Mechanics note that accessing internally stashed gear or fixing a leaky hatch can turn a quick trailside fix into a frustrating ordeal. unlike external bags, which add similar capacity without locking you into a proprietary system. These integrated solutions are all about aesthetics and minor handling tweaks, not measurable speed or power. The trade-off is clear. You gain a tidier look and lose both grams and flexibility, with no watt savings to justify the extra spend. In the 10th place, boutique TPU and proprietary tubes enter the gravel hype cycle with price tags that can reach $30 to $50 per pair, all while promising a magic blend of puncture resistance and rolling speed. The reality is, independent drum tests from bicycle rolling resistance put TPU tubes within a hair, less than 1%, of the rolling resistance you would get from a standard tubeless setup. That is a difference so small it falls within the margin of measurement error. The weight story is just as underwhelming. TPU tubes add about 5 grams per wheel, a rounding error on a fully loaded gravel rig. Lab data shows no meaningful watt savings, and in the real world, the supposed efficiency boost evaporates under gravel's constant vibration and puncture risk. Tubeless systems, with their self-sealing sealant, still outperform tubes in actual puncture protection. What you are left with is a premium consumable that trades cash for branding, not measurable speed. The boutique tube upgrade is a masterclass in marginal gains marketing, an expensive way to buy a lighter spare, not a faster ride. Number 9. Ultra-high modulus carbon frames promise the holy grail of stiffness for those willing to pay a 15% premium over already pricey mid-modulus options. On paper, these flagship frames tout a less than 2% increase in stiffness, an improvement so slight that even composite engineers admit it is virtually undetectable outside of a laboratory flex test. The supposed weight savings are minimal. At best, a 20 to 30 gram drop, which is less than the dust you will pick up on a muddy ride. With sticker prices routinely hitting $5,000 to $8,000, the cost per gram ratio veers straight into luxury watch territory. Independent material cost analysis confirms that most of this upcharge goes into prestige branding and the illusion of exclusivity, not real-world performance. For gravel riders chasing measurable gains, the watt advantage is effectively zero. No faster climbs, no smoother descents, just a lighter wallet. This upgrade exists for those who want to say they have the best, not for those who want to ride the fastest. If you are tempted by the flagship frame tier, remember the numbers do not lie, and neither does your power meter. 8th place goes to premium race day gravel tires, the ones that promise pro-level speed with a price tag to match. Swissside's Aero data and BRR rolling resistance tests show the best of these tires can shave about 0.9 watts in the lab, but out on the grit that edge drops to just 0.8 watts after factoring in a fatigue adjustment of 0.9. For a $165 set, the cost per real watt is $206, making it one of the least efficient ways to buy speed. The marketing loves to tout advanced casings and proprietary tread compounds, but the actual watt savings are barely half what you would get from a basic folding tubeless upgrade. Durability often takes a hit too. Race day rubber sacrifices puncture protection for a marginal aero gain you will only notice on a spreadsheet. It is a classic case of diminishing returns, a small, measurable benefit that comes at a premium most riders will never justify. Save your money for upgrades that actually move the needle. Number 7. Flagship wireless electronic group sets like Shimano GRX Di2 command top dollar for the promise of seamless shifting and cockpit minimalism, but the hard numbers tell a different story. The latest GRX Di2 kit tips the scales at 2,753 grams, an extra 177 grams over the mechanical equivalent, while the price tag hovers between $2,500 and $3,200. That is a luxury watch's worth of electronics for a drivetrain that, according to both manufacturer specs and independent lab tests, delivers exactly 0 watt savings on the road. There is no measurable drag reduction, no time shaved off the climbs, just a sleeker lever feel and the satisfaction of pressing a button instead of clicking a cable. The cost per watt equation does not even apply here, because there is no watt to count. Prestige, integration, and the illusion of progress all come at a premium. But for gravel riders chasing real speed, this is a status upgrade, not a performance one. Save the big spend for something you will actually feel in your legs, not just in your fingertips. Number 6. Ceramic chain lubricants and pre-treated chains promise laboratory watt savings that seem almost too good to be true, and in most real-world gravel scenarios, They are. Friction Facts 30 Lube dataset puts solid paraffin wax at the top of the efficiency charts, slashing up to 5 watts in pristine lab conditions compared to the worst drip oils. On paper, that is a green light upgrade at just $25 per application, with a cost per watt that embarrasses most hardware swaps. But the story changes fast once dust, mud, and a few creek crossings enter the picture. The field adjustment factor for chain wax sits at 0.6, meaning 40% of those watt savings vanish after a typical gravel ride, leaving you with about 3 watts of real benefit if you are diligent about reapplying every 300 kilometers. The return on investment is still solid for those who can keep up with the maintenance, but the fantasy of endless free speed quickly dissolves in the grit. Lab tests sell the dream, but out on the gravel, chain wax is a consumable with a ticking clock, not a miracle cure. Number 5. Titanium bolt kits and boutique lightweight hardware promise a whiff of pro-level tech, but the numbers are far less glamorous. Swapping every visible steel bolt for titanium might save you 10 to 30 grams, about as much as a handful of gravel in your pocket. The price? Anywhere from $40 to $100 per kit, which means you are paying up to $10 per gram, a cost per gram ratio that would make even carbon fiber blush. Real-world watt savings? 0. Not even a rounding error on a power meter. Workshop audits confirm that while titanium resists corrosion better than steel, the supposed performance gain is all style, no substance. The only measurable benefit is a slightly shinier cockpit and maybe a few less rusty bolts after a season of mud. For most riders, this is a classic status accessory, bling for the sake of bling. If you are chasing actual speed, your money is better spent elsewhere. Next up, the debate shifts from hardware to the eternal comfort versus speed conundrum. Number 4. Carbon saddle rails and shells have become a staple of the gravel upgrade catalog, often pitched as the shortcut to both comfort and speed. The reality is far more grounded. Swapping to a full carbon saddle typically shaves about 50 grams off your build, roughly the weight of a single energy gel. In terms of power, that translates to an estimated 0.15 watts saved at a steady 30 kilometers per hour, a difference so small it is lost in the noise of any real-world ride. Yet, the price tag lands between $200 and $400, pushing the cost per watt well past $1,300. That is luxury watch territory for a gain you will never feel on a climb or a sprint. What carbon does offer is a subtle tweak to ride feel, slightly more flex, maybe a touch less road buzz, but only if the shape matches your anatomy. Most of the comfort comes down to saddle fit and pressure mapping, not the material itself. For gravel riders chasing genuine speed, this is where the marginal gains hype hits a hard wall. If you are spending for comfort, make sure it is about the fit, not the fiber. For those still tempted by the carbon saddle upgrade, remember, the math does not lie, and neither does your power meter. Coming to the top 3, within-tier electronic Groupset upgrades deliver a masterclass in marginal gains marketing. Shimano's own price list puts the GRX RX 820 Di2 at $1,554, a full $555 above the RX 710 Di2, yet both officially weigh in at the same 1,900 grams. Community teardown videos whisper about a savings of 42 grams, roughly the weight of a single energy gel, thanks to a slimmer derailleur cage and lighter shifter housing. But here is the punchline. Shimano's published specs do not even bother to confirm this micro difference. Even if you believe the teardown, the math is brutal. Over $13 per gram, or in power terms, less than 0.1 watt shaved off your total output. That is so far below the threshold of human perception, it might as well be a rounding error. On the trail, the only thing lighter is your wallet. The real-world benefit? Purely psychological, unless you are counting grams for a spreadsheet rather than a gravel ride. As the cost per gram climbs, the functional return flatlines, setting the stage for the integrated cockpit extravagance waiting just ahead. Drop a comment with your current gravel rig for a future value audit, and do not forget to subscribe for more myth-busting cycling analysis. Number 2, the one-piece integrated carbon cockpit is where premium marketing meets real-world frustration. Brands love to pitch these full-wrap bars and internal routing kits as the ultimate Aero solution, but the numbers are almost comical. At a price point between $500 and $1,000, independent Aero modeling gives a best-case scenario of 1 watt saved in the lab. Bring that into the field, and you are left with just 0.6 watts, barely enough to register on a power meter, let alone justify the cost. That translates to a cost per real watt well over $1,250, making this upgrade one of the worst investments in the entire gravel world. The pain does not stop at the price tag. Mechanics report that installing an integrated cockpit averages 45 minutes, often pushing labor costs to $90 or more. Need to swap bars or adjust your fit? Prepare for another hour of wrangling cables and proprietary hardware. And despite the carbon hype, these setups typically add around 100 grams to the front end, so much for weight savings. The only thing truly integrated here is the hassle, higher cost, more weight, and a service headache, all for a watt you will never feel on the trail. It is a perfect storm of style over substance, setting the stage for the ultimate money waster just ahead. And finally, in first place, ceramic bottom bracket bearings claim the dubious honor of cycling's most expensive illusion. Friction Facts and Hawk Racing both measured the actual drag difference between a top-tier ceramic and the best steel bottom bracket at just 0.03 watts in the lab. That is not a typo. 0.03 of a watt, or less than the power it takes to blink. Take that into the real world, where mud and seal wear chip away at any laboratory advantage, and the field-adjusted figure drops to a mere 0.024 watts saved. The price tag, meanwhile, sits at a $425 median, sometimes higher, making the cost per real watt a staggering $20,800. For context, that is enough to buy an entire fleet of mid-range gravel bikes for the same watt of gain. The supposed benefit? A fleeting sense of smoothness that vanishes the moment the bearings see their first muddy creek crossing. Field logs from actual gravel races confirm that any power difference is lost in the noise of real terrain, with power meters unable to register a meaningful change. What you are really buying is a story, the prestige of ceramic, the allure of pro-level tech, and the hope that a few decimal places of efficiency will make you faster. But the data is merciless. Ceramic bottom brackets are the ultimate money pit, where marketing hype finally outpaces measurable performance. Drop a comment with your current gravel setup for a future value audit. Hit subscribe for more cycling upgrades debunked by real data. Across all 15 upgrades, one pattern stands out. The marketing machine outpaces measurable gains. Swiss side wind tunnel numbers and BRR drum tests show real watt savings plateau fast, long before flagship pricing. The real value lies in fit, tire choice, and smart wheel upgrades, not luxury branding. In gravel, your best ride comes from evidence, not hype. Drop your bike or brand in the comments for a future value audit, and subscribe for more data-driven myth-busting.